Hey everyone, Buggy here, and welcome to the Bugvlog, Baguburagu. And I am apparently making this video here in my shitty room with poor lighting and probably bad sound as well, because apparently Digibro is an idiot, and he is a big enough idiot that I have to come out and make a fucking video, to rebut some of his stupid, idiotic points. So, recently, Digibro has put out a vlog entitled, Have Light Novels and Manga Gotten Too Expensive in the US? And this is a video that I found incredibly insulting for multiple reasons. First, the video is like 25 minutes long. It's over 25 minutes long. I think 25:40 is the length of the video, which is fucking unbelievable for a yes or no question. Like, there should be a simple answer to this question. Are light novels and manga too expensive in the US, or aren't they? And unless, if you're gonna make a video that long, you better have, a lot of explanation in order to explain your point, and he doesn't really come up with a good point. On top of that, he starts off by saying that he's basically just doing the video as a tax write-off in order to justify like one of his purchases, and he says that he really has no insider information or much more than a cursory knowledge about the industry, which is basically admitting to saying, you know what, I don't really know what I'm talking about here, and I'm only talking about it in the first place because I want to make some of my money back. This is okay, first off, this is something you should never be fucking doing, alright? It's just, I mean, you can go ahead and do that, but don't admit to it. That's dumb, because it gives the people who don't like you ammunition against you. It gives your fans, it's insulting to your fans, and it's really insulting to your patrons, the people who are paying you for these. And I did a little bit of research, which is probably way more than Digibro did. It looks like he made roughly $25 off that video, with how he's got that set up on his Patreon. So, like, I could sit down and talk for 25 minutes about something that I am not at all in any way qualified to talk about. And if I could get paid money for that, that would be absolutely fantastic. I could use a little extra dough. So, like, why is he getting paid for this? Is it's the beard, isn't it? It's because, he's got that magnificent beard. If I were a little less baby-faced, I'd be rolling in the big boy dollars too, wouldn't I? But anyway, I just want to talk a little bit about why he has no clue what he's talking about. Because first of all, light novels and manga are not as expensive as he's making them out to be. He's talking about list prices. He's gone into a brick-and-mortar store, Barnes & Noble, and he has made a purchase there of, a purchase. He's buying his stuff in a brick-and-mortar store. And that's something that you're always going to be paying more there. Like, the list price of Baccano, which is the light novel that he was most upset about, and made the video about, ultimately, that's $20 at Barnes & Noble. That's list price. But there are places to get that way cheaper. If you're buying digitally, it's a lot cheaper. If you are ordering online, it's usually cheaper there. I got a copy as well. I bought it from rightstuff.com, and that cost me $15 there. It didn't cost me any shipping because, like, I bought enough that, well, he said he bought $150 worth of stuff, and I generally buy, like, $50 to $100 worth of stuff in a bundle when I buy that, and $50 gets me free shipping from Right Stuff. So when I say it cost me $15, it cost me $15. It didn't even cost me, like, shipping on top of that. and it may even have been less because Right Stuff has this Got Anime discount. It's like $12 will get you additional discounts. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but it'll get you an additional discount on top of that. And generally, I buy enough that's worth getting from me because I get my money's worth out of it. Like, it's ultimately cheaper in the long run to buy that discount. So, like, $15 compared to $20, it's a $5 difference. And what Digibro has essentially done is he has paid $5 to buy it at Barnes & Noble. And he mentions in the comments that, there's a sense of satisfaction that he gets from that he doesn't get online. Okay, that's fine. Like, I appreciate that you get that sense, and if it's $5 worth for you, that's fine. I can even understand you saying, you know what, it's worth $5 for me to buy this physically because I get that much more satisfaction out of it. I don't think that is a dumb, a dumb spending habit if that's seriously what you enjoy more. It's convenience over price, and that's all it is. But at the same time, you also can't complain about price if you're buying it higher than a lot of people are going to be buying it from. There's also, like I said, the option of buying digitally. Digital books are also generally cheaper, but like it's volumes of manga and light novels are still around like $7 to $10 if you're looking in the right places and buying from the right sellers. And if you're buying used, which I mean it's harder to do, again that's going to be even less. So as for whether or not they're overpriced, so this is kind of a tricky question because if you compare the Japanese prices of light novels and manga to the U.S. prices of light novels and manga, yes, they are definitely overpriced. I was in Hokkaido for about a month, like a couple years ago, and while I was there, I bought a copy of the Tatami Galaxy and the first volume of Silver Spoon. I wish I had my copy of the Tatami Galaxy with me. Most of my books, just in general, have been packed up and moved elsewhere because I'm going to be moving soon. But like I know the volume of Silver Spoon that I bought was around $4. I think probably even less. Like it was the equivalent of that in yen. I think 380 yen is what it cost me. So you factor in tax and whatnot. Yeah, that's probably $4. And I'm assuming that books are about the same price. And the reason that they can be that cheap is just because the publishing industry is different there. For whatever reason, they're able to print and sell books cheaper. Maybe there's more of a market for them. Size probably has something to do with it. I think volumes of stuff in general are a little smaller. Books, I'm fairly certain that books in general are smaller and also thinner due to how the Japanese writing system works. You can fit a lot more content in a lot less space in Japanese. But there's that to take into account. So yeah, if you look at it from that perspective, yes, manga and light novels are definitely overpriced here. We're paying more than twice what the Japanese pay in most cases. But at the same time, there's a reason for that. They're overpriced, but they're overpriced for a reason. The first reason I want to talk about is just the American publishing industry in general. And that's, the price of books here in general is more expensive than in Japan. Like, a volume of manga for $4, that's unheard of for, like, any book to go for $4 here in the industry. I've got with me here a Stephen King novel, The Gunslinger, book 1 of the Dark Tower. I say a novel, but it's actually a novella. It's actually probably about the same length as a light novel, maybe a little longer, maybe a little shorter. It's really hard to tell, because I don't have word counts on these. But it's a book that costs $9 is the list price for it. $9, $10. That's generally about the price of this type of book. And that is a fantasy novel. I buy a lot of fantasy novels. A lot of them are around, $8, $9, $10, $11, somewhere in there. Which is cheaper than what light novels are being sold for. But bear with me. There are different types of paperbacks in the American market. You have this, which is a mass market paperback, is what it's known as. Generally, it has cheaper binding, and it's made with cheaper paper. It'll end up getting yellowed a lot quicker, and the binding will fall apart. Like, I have a copy of Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, and like that book was falling apart by the end that I got through it, or by the time that I got to the end of it, just because it's not made to be. It's not made to be very durable. It's not like a hardcover, or what we're going to get into now, a trade paperback. These are a couple of light novels that I do have with me. I've got the Baccano one up on a shelf somewhere too, didn't pull it down, but like, this size of book, this type of printing, like you'll compare the size. It's taller, it's wider, it's thinner too, and you're gonna get that with any book. Dorado is actually, this volume of it is a little thicker than most light novels, but that's what's known as a trade paperback. They are a little more expensive, but that's also because they are a little more durable. The binding's better, the paper quality is better, and I don't know whether or not light novels are being printed as trade paperbacks or being printed just in trade paperback size, but that's something that you have to keep in mind, that these are higher quality than the average book that you're going to be picking up at a store, or like a cheap mass market disposable paperback. And actually, for a trade paperback, a lot of these light novels are going for, just to pull up these two, these are both priced at $14. And that's about right for a trade paperback, actually. Brandon Sanderson, one of my favorite fantasy authors, has a couple. He generally writes like really, really thick books. Sometimes he writes shorter things. Sometimes he writes novellas, which are what he does when he tries to write a short story. But there's a novella of his that I bought that is about the same size as a light novel, takes about the same amount of time to get through, and doesn't have any of the illustrations or anything that light novels usually do, which does cost some in terms of printing. You've got these glossy pages in here. That's something that that takes time and money to print. Color ink is going to take more. It's a different type of paper. So there's that sort of expense. The Emperor's Soul, which is the Brandon Sanderson novella I'm talking about, it doesn't have any of that. It's the same price as those books. Okay? These light novels are not overpriced compared to novels of the same size. And, Digi talks about how, these aren't necessarily very good things. They're meant to be read quick. But that's the thing. In the publishing industry, quality and length does not really matter. It costs about as much money to print a shitty but popular book that's shorter as a slightly longer but much better overall book in the long run. If they're both going to sell the same, there's absolutely no real financial difference between them. So they're going to be made for the same price. There's also the fact that book prices have been getting higher just in general lately because of digital media and how that's affected print. Because now print has to compete with digital media, and there is a little bit of a stigma against physical media, or against digital media, because people are not really used to it, and they like actually owning books. I personally, even though I know that there's like there's really no necessary advantage of it, I prefer having physical books because I like how they look on a shelf. I like actually holding them in my hands. I like the act of physically turning pages. I like the smell of books. It's stuff like that, you know, when you're buying a physical book, you're paying to own it physically rather than digitally. You're paying to own the book rather than the concept of the book, which is the same thing in the long run, but it's, you know, people will pay a bit more for that. There's also the fact that there are costs associated with physical books that digital books do not have. You have to factor in material, like it costs ink, it costs paper, you know, all that stuff will cost money, and they have to make some of that back. And it also costs space. You have to store physical books, and there's, you know, where are they going? You know, they if you haven't, warehouses. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Like, you've got to have books sitting somewhere in order to be shipped out, and there are warehouses for that. You need to have that space rented in order to hold these physical books. And then, on top of that, you know, on top of how digital books affect physical book prices, there's the fact that there are licensing costs involved in, you know, making in bringing over these foreign books, this manga, these light novels, because, you know, in every book you have people that need to get paid. You have, for light novels, you have the author, you have the illustrator, you have multiple editors, because, like, even if they just have one main editor that's, you know, helping them stay on target with, helping the author stay on target with their schedule and whatnot, and making sure that their work can be as good as it can be. There are also copy editors who go through and, you know, are there to make sure that it doesn't have any typos or grammatical mistakes in it. You have the publishers, you have the distributors. All these people need to get paid, you know, whether they're individual people or companies that do them. And then when you add translation and, you know, Western publishing into the mix, there are those people that need to get paid too. So you're not just paying the licensing cost, you're paying for, you know, you're paying for the translator. I'm assuming that translators have editors as well. If there's manga, I'm sure that there are, like, people who do, I'm not sure what all the terms are, but, like, cleaning and whatnot, you know, just making sure that the images fit with the English text a little bit better, which, you know, sometimes involves editing sound effects and whatnot to make them readable for us so that we can tell that there are, you know, that it's supposed to be a sound effect and not weird squiggles and whatnot. And that'll, you know, vary depending on the translator or publishing house or whatnot. But yeah, the publishing house, like, Yen Press needs to make, you know, its yen as well. And it's, again, distributors and marketing, there are those prices going into it. So essentially, you're paying for the book twice, with light novels and manga. And considering that you are, paying for it twice and still getting it for the price of other books, trade paperbacks, which are, actually, light novels are pretty on point with trade paperbacks in pricing. You're actually getting it for a pretty good price because you're getting it for the same as a trade paperback that you're only paying for once. And then finally you have the fact that, like, as much as we want to say, no, this is accessible to everyone or whatnot, this is a hobby that's really niche. It's not something that a lot of people are going to be buying. And so every new series they bring out is going to be a gamble. I'm stunned that they brought out Black Bullet, for example, because, like, who wants to fucking buy a Black Bullet over something far better that, we're more acquainted with or have heard of, such as, it came out long before Baccano, which is, everything is a gamble. Every single series that they bring over is a crapshoot. Either it's, it could be hugely popular, or it could tank. Like, you have One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, and those are, like, huge in Japan. And they're pretty big here, but there still aren't a ton of people buying up One Piece. There aren't a lot of people buying Naruto. Even if they're popular, there's not a ton of people reading them, so there's not... You have to factor in the fact... you have to factor in the risk into the price. Because they have to ask a little more. They're saying, look, we need you to trust us. We need you to pay us this extra money because we are taking a big risk. We have made a big investment in this, and we don't know how well it's going to sell. If it blows up, fine, they make a huge investment, but if not, this way they at least get to make a little bit of their money back. Alright, so I think that's all I had to say. I'm looking at the time on my recording right now. It looks like I am under 25 minutes. I rambled on for far too long and stumbled over my words and whatnot, but I still managed to cover the topic a lot more thoroughly and a lot more in-depth than I think Digibro managed to do in more time than that. So, I guess if I feel the need to do a vlog again, I'll be back with this, but for now, that's all I have to say. See you guys later.